A surprise IRS move on political endorsements leaves faith leaders and legal experts divided. This an article by AP News. It says, quote, a surprise move by the IRS that would allow pastors to back political candidates from the pulpit without losing their organization's tax-exempt status is drawing praise from conservatives and even some progressive religious groups, but concern from other leaders of faith, along with tax and legal experts. A 1954 provision in the tax code called the Johnson Amendment says churches and other nonprofits could lose their tax-exempt status if they participate or intervene in any political campaign on behalf of or in opposition to any candidate for public office. The rule was rarely enforced. While the IRS did not go as far as calling for the repeal of the Johnson Amendment, it said in court documents Monday that communications in good faith by a church to its flock does not amount to intervening or affecting the outcome of a political campaign. Communications from a house of worship to its congregation in connection with the religious services, though its usual channels of communication on matters of faith, do not run afoul of the Johnson Amendment as properly interpreted, the IRS said. New IRS interpretation came after decades of debate and most recently lawsuits from National Religious Broadcasters Association and other conservative churches complaining that the amendment violates their First Amendment right, among other legal protections. Mayor Yemi says from Colorado Springs, as a both a pastor and now as a mayor, I have seen firsthand the importance of keeping the pulpit free from political endorsements. This recent change in IRS tax code allowing churches to publicly endorse political candidates is deeply concerning. History, both American and church history, offers sobering examples of the harm done when faith institutions are entangled with partisan politics. Faith can and should inspire how we lead, shaping our values, our compassion, and our courage. My own leadership rests on the foundation of faith, guided by the values of courage, empathy, and humility. But political campaigning belongs outside the sanctuary. When the church remains a place of unity, free from partisan divide, it can better fulfill its true calling to be a light in a divided world. Mayor Yemi Mobolade, as you would call him, says that says my own leadership rests on the foundation of faith.
So when it's convenient for him, it's fine.
I just wonder if deciding to have his own Jesse Smollett moment also was guided by his faith.
Yeah, good
God,
point.
God told him. Is that what he's going to say?
Look, whether or not you agree or disagree that faith and politics should intermingle, it still goes back to the fact that when the government tells the church what they can and cannot do, it is a violation of the First Amendment.
Yep, freedom of speech. They should be able to decide. And if some pastor's like, "Hey, I'm voting for Todd. I like Todd. I'm all about Todd. I don't like Susie. Susie just seems like a terrible person." And they're being forthcoming and honest with it too. That does open it up more in church and people congregating together to have these discussions with, because a lot of people do vote with their religious beliefs, do they not?
Absolutely.
They go, "Oh, this person will support my religious freedom and beliefs. I will vote for someone of this extent," versus someone who opposes it and goes, "Oh no, it's terrible. Don't want you practicing religion, whatever, yada yada, and so on and so forth." So it's fine. I think it opens up a lot more discussions with religion and a lot more people maybe coming out and voting too. And I didn't know it was an IRS code that was like making it to where they couldn't do it. That seems really, really obscure to me. There's an IRS code why churches wouldn't be like, yes, vote for Frank. I love Frank.
This also brings up the really crucial fact that Americans are governed by quote unquote laws that are not laws, that are bureaucratic rules, and that's how Americans are governed, and it's wrong. It is wrong that that Americans should be governed by unelected officials.
Yeah.
It's not the way that it was intended to be.
You're right. TSA, IRS, all this stuff. It all, they just dictate everything, and you don't get a vote or a say. They get funded by the population and us, and then they just go, "You have to do this," and you're all, "Dude, we didn't get a chance. We didn't get to vote. We didn't make a decision. Nothing was brought in before us. You just start telling me I have to do this." The what is it? The FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, the ATF, like they just start doing stuff and violating every right, liberty, and freedom of the people for no good reason. And they just got some jerk that decides, "I'm in charge of it this week, so guess what? Screw you guys." That's what they do. And they're like, I swear it's like the feudal system sometimes. They're like the lords of the land. Like, you have to do this because I'm a 3-letter organization.
Well, I think this just exposes the fact that the 501c3 tax exemption was always, has been, and always was going to be a tool of control over the church. Pastor Chuck Baldwin has talked about this extensively. He wrote a book called Romans 13.
That's a good point.
It's always been a way to leverage the church and get pastors to self censor themselves, because there's this unwritten rule that if I say the wrong thing, I lose my tax exemption and I'm no longer able to operate in the world and have my church. So this is evidence that this was always a problem. The fact that you have to create this provision now that, oh, we're going to allow pastors to endorse politicians. Well, they should have always been allowed to. I mean, if you look back at the roots of our country,
We're going to allow you. Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, this country was literally founded on the Black Robe Regiment. Who's the Black Robe Regiment? It was a group of Baptist pastors. They were known for wearing these big black robes. They were predominantly in these, former Puritan, at the time, British colonies, and they were preaching. And guess who was sitting in the second row? Good old John Adams, good old Thomas Jefferson, good old George Washington, good old Ben Franklin, the founders, Sam Adams. All these guys were listening to these sermons where they were basically telling their congregation, we have a duty as the church to be salt and light, which includes advancing the cause of freedom and liberty and all of these things. So this country was literally born out of a bunch of 20-somethings sitting in church listening to pastors preach on the fact that you need to get up, you need to start the United States and start a revolution. So yeah, it's sad that we have to make provisions for something that it should have always been the case.
So I'm gonna bring this up again because it's been a while since I brought it up.
Ooh.
So you brought up Jefferson. Jefferson is more than likely, we believe, not a Christian. He believed in the power of the Bible to teach good morals, values, and ethics, but we do not believe that he was a Christian, or most would agree that we do not believe he's a Christian. The phrase separation of church and state that the left loves to use actually comes from not a founding document, but it comes from a letter that Jefferson wrote to the Danbury Baptists at the time. The Danbury Baptists who were being persecuted by their own state. And he writes, "Gentlemen, the affectionate sentiments of esteem and approbation which you are so good as to express towards me on behalf of the Danbury Baptist Association give me the highest satisfaction. My duties dictate a faithful and zealous pursuit of the interests of my constituents, and in proportion as they are persuaded of my fidelity to those duties, the discharge of them becomes more and more pleasing. Believing with you that religion is a matter which lies solely between man and his God, that he owes account to none other for his faith or his worship, that the legitimate powers of government reach actions only and not opinions. I contemplate with sovereign reverence the act of the whole American people, which declared that their legislature should make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, thus building a wall of separation between church and state. Adhering to this expression of the supreme will of the nation in behalf of the rights of conscience, I shall see with sincere satisfaction the progress of those sentiments which tend to restore to man all his natural rights, convinced he has no natural right in opposition to his social duties. I reciprocate your kind prayers for the protection and blessing of common Father and Creator of man, and tender of yourself and your religious association assurances of my high respect and esteem." That is where this idea of separation of church and state exists. It is in this context that it protects the First Amendment right that no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. What is the free exercise of religion? What is the free exercise of institutions that are religious? The free exercise is anything they choose to do.
Well, I was taught, and I always understood that the whole like separation of church and state was because we're based up. We bunch of the founders came from Britain. Okay, it just is what it is. We know that. But back in the day, the church used to dictate a lot of the laws and the court and da-da-da and what you do and this and that, and they didn't want that here, and they wanted it separated. That's how I was taught it in history classes back in my time. But that is a problem too, if that makes sense, to not have that again where the church is dictating upon legalities and politics and stuff as well. But at the same time, the other end of it is they should be able to say and do whatever they're going to say and do, regardless. They just can't be dictating on it. That's my stance on it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that makes
sense.
It makes sense to me.
Like, they shouldn't be in charge of it, but they should take the stances and positions they want to take stances and positions, but they shouldn't have the leveraging angle, and they also should not be leveraged in angle to do things in accordance or in favor of any political structure or government either.
Yeah. Well, and I think this letter to the Danbury Baptists was just affirming that we're not going to be a theocracy.
Yeah.
That's all. And for the record, it was not any sort of official legal document. This is not any founding document. This is an email, dude. This is a BlackBerry message.
Text message back.
This is for my millennials. This is a BBM.
Yeah, and I don't know what that is.
BlackBerry Messenger.
Oh, okay. Sweet.
Rest in peace, BlackBerry.
It's an AOL message.
Like, everyone talks about it like it's the Constitution. It's like, dude,
Well,
it was an email.
The other thing is that we don't have a firm number, but we believe somewhere about a quarter of the population, not a quarter percent, 25% of the population is evangelical in the United States. That number fluctuates, but let's call it 25%, the rough estimate. Of those 25%, only 38% vote.
Yes.
Only 38% of evangelicals vote.
Except for the year 2000.
And so if you have a large percentage of evangelicals all of a sudden show up to the polls, this is very threatening to the Democratic Party.
Sure.
And so I could see where there are plenty of people that are very upset that this is the ruling. But the same goes with other religions, is that now any religious organization, Muslims, Buddhists, Sikhs, whatever, I don't think the Sikhs would ever do it. But
I like their hats.
so what?
I like their hats.
I love their gloves.
So
What?
So all of them can now endorse political candidates.
You know what, though? This might turn out being one of the better things ever, because all these people that favor certain, oh, look at this, and then they're like, wow, this guy likes this, like, this certain denomination favors some XYZ crazy, like, extremist, like, oh, we got to kill all these people things. And be like, look what they're talking about. Look what kind of political people they like. You know what I mean? It might be a very favorable thing as a whole with stuff too for other nonsensical type things. Or really, like, pull the curtain back and be like, no, look, this guy just said we got to kill all these people, and that's the guy they want to vote for.
Yeah.
So it's gonna pull that curtain back too, and like be showing like a lot of.
They're exposing themselves.
Yes. So I think it's going to turn out being a really good. I know I'm using a very extreme example, but you get what I mean.
So here's some
Self-affirming.
here's some fear mongering from the Houston public media.
Ooh.
That's the public media. So this is the freaking problem. The public media puts out this fear mongering campaign here. Texas pastors poised to wield political power. After IRS says churches can endorse candidates. One expert said Texas, with more than 200 mega churches, will be the epicenter for pastors and congregations to test out their new influence.
Every time you say mega church, I just always envision somebody like John C. Reilly out there or Will Ferrell. And you got to get out there and vote. You know? Like, what? What is happening?
I think of like Transformers. I think of like Bumblebee transforming into the semi truck. Like, mega. It's not a church.
Bumblebee transforms.
It's a mega church.
Yeah, it's a mega church.
Megatron, Mega Man. Sunday, Qualcomm Stadium.
I just always see like just a bunch of music and lights and strobe lights and sirens and like John C. Reilly out there. You got to vote.
But Jason's losing his mind. So the question at hand was what? I'm so sorry.
No, just that they're like fear-mongering people that now that pastors are going to have like extreme political authority on things by voicing an opinion or who they would endorse or vote. Everybody, regardless of status, position, or anything else, should be able to go ahead and say who they're going to endorse. The only time I have a question with it and say something shouldn't is I like judges, those that are supposed to be with the laws and stuff, I think shouldn't be involved with politics and they need to be unbiased.
Yeah.
In my opinion, like judges and stuff like that, they need to really just be like, no political parties, no voting, just stay biased, follow the rule of the law. That's it. Bam. If you want to be doing that,
We don't like parties.
that kind of stuff. Yes.
Yeah, we're boring.
We hate parties.
Yep.
We just like barbecues.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I think it's also interesting because I have numerous examples, and I don't want to get into it today, but I think that multiple cities in America are starting to reject the megachurch, not reject Christianity, reject the megachurch, and I think we've seen some of that take place in Colorado as well, and there's numerous examples, but I think that this idea that megachurches are going to have this unbelievable political power, I think is kind of absurd. Once again, we talk about 25% of Americans are probably evangelical. We're not talking about the vast majority, which I think that
When you say mega church, I'm envisioning those flashy TV type things where it's like the power of Christ has you vote for Todd. You know, some dudes.
It's a church that has more than 2,000 people, but
Yeah.
I
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like with me, it's always that
is
that
that the
image
number?
of the flashy TV ones.
I've seen that number being thrown around in recent YouTube videos. But is there a larger demographic block than 25% of evangelical Americans in the U.S.? Is there another group that's larger than that identifiable group in terms of
Atheists,
voting? Who?
Probably
Who?
the atheists.
But are they considered a voting block? Like, are they a community that's courted politically? Are there centralized atheist organizations? Like, I don't.
The atheist.
The atheist.
There is.
There is.
What?
I mean,
No, I've never heard of.
There's non-profit, right? Freedom from religious influence, stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh,
But how are they marketed to politically? Like in political season,
are they a
what is
501c?
what is the strategy to reach the atheist voting bloc? And the reason I'm asking is because I'm thinking that this 25% is the most powerful voting bloc in the country, and it's been coveted for and contended for forever. And the best example of that is when George W. Bush won the election in 2000. He won because evangelicals got off their butts and went and voted. And so I'm thinking this is an important conversation to have because what we're discussing is political capital. This group of 25% of people have been courted for, contended for, pandered to ever since I've been a kid. I mean, my parents are boomers. Like, I've been watching political media since I was 7 years old, and it's always been like this, oh, please vote for us, evangelical American white Protestants, please. Like, it's this group that everybody's always, wanted to appease. All right, I think I went too hard on that, but you guys hear what I'm saying? Because if they're not, if there's not a bigger group than them, this is like a huge conversation because this is the group that everybody's fighting for in political season. They're determining elections.
I was curious why old Mayor Yum Yum Mama blah 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 here was so against it. Like, what's his big qualm with it? Why is he so concerned and opposed to it? Because he's like, oh, I'm a pastor and this and that, and he utilized that during the election. Let's not sugarcoat it or lie about it by any means. He utilized a lot of that church and stuff and his connections with other church and people
Have to in Colorado
and
Springs.
other pastors and other religious I don't like using leader, but heads of churches and stuff, and
Sure.
to his advantage and stuff a lot. And so he utilized that to his advantage, and it was advantageous for him. So I was very curious of why he'd be so against it, because you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Why is he so against what he did and used to benefit him?
I also don't think that Yemi's religious stance and his cultural stance were at odds with
Very
most
conflicting.
evangelical Protestants in America. They would not conflate the two that Yemi tried to preach, which was, we're going to stand by the LGBTQ community and we're going to affirm the LGBTQ community. We're going to back Antifa and Black Lives Matters, but hey, I'm a local pastor. And I think that now, while some evangelicals were tricked and probably voted for him, but the other option was it was a Mormon that is politically entrenched and is just fraught with corruption. Those were the two options, and the community chose Mayor Yemi, which was an independent candidate, which truly was more a Democrat.
Oh, he was the only one that spoke at the Democratic Forum at the time. I know. I got to stand there and listen to it.
But I think that the broader public of evangelicals would not really allow those two social and religious contexts that Yemi preaches to mix. Now, there's 62% of the country is of some Christian affiliation, which they also include Mormons in the Christian affiliation. 19% are Catholic, 23% are evangelical, and 11% are mainline Protestant, 5% are historically Black Protestant. And we already know that the Black community, regardless of religious affiliation, tends to lean at 82% to the left. Even the Black Protestants are 82% Democrat. And so really, I think for a long time, secretly, the churches have greatly influenced how their congregants vote. The question becomes, is that going to change now that it's now more in the open?
No, let's say
or not vote.
They do angle which way their congregations are going to vote even now. They do it nonchalant ways, whether there's little flyers in the front on a desk or something like that, or, oh, yes, I know this guy. What a good person. I've seen it here locally, quite a sum even before this change. I just had to say that the IRS should have no authority over a church on what people can say. That was what I'll say regardless on that. But even before that, I've seen it here locally, and I think you guys have too. Little flyers, little things. This person's running for this. Oh, I really like them. I know them. They're a great person. You should grab one of them flyers off that little stand or that thing of them, or the little sheets or whatever, right? You know what I'm talking about? At a church. So I've seen it. So even before this was a thing, I've seen them do that stuff, which is very interesting. And they've done their little angling and their leveraging and their decision making. They just do it in a different.
Well, the state of Colorado loves to be at the forefront of losing religious freedom cases. They lost Cake Baker. They lost Cake Baker again. They lost the website designer. They lost Camp Idra Haji. They've lost every single time that they've tried to infringe on religious freedoms in this state. They have lost at the Supreme Court, and they like to, they like to be made fun of.
Oh, yeah,
for trying to consistently trample on religious freedom.
It's interesting too because old Governor Droopy Dog Jerry Puller, Governor Pull a Sausage, what do you want to call the ding dong? He's always talking about like, oh, it's the state where you can live and do whatever you want and be the person you want to be with all the freedoms and liberties. But he's always like against anybody's freedoms and liberties that don't totally align with what he favors. You're all right. That is we are pretty made fun of nowadays.
Yeah, I think Colorado has always been the new California.
It's the butt of jokes now. Don't move here.
Still beautiful. Yeah, but don't move here.
Yeah, no, it doesn't smell good anymore.
Smells like cigar smoke. There's no vacancy.
No, it's just turned into everywhere else and expensive, so it doesn't really offer much anymore, which is sad and disheartening. I don't say it because I hate the state I live in. I say it because we need to recognize the problem to resolve it and make it okay-ish again. So every time I say anything bad about Colorado, it's not because I hate this place. It's because I hate what's it's transcended into. Just turn it into everywhere else. It took the natural beauty, the great sense of community, and all the good aspects of what it had, and it's just been like, oh, well, we'll just be everywhere else now. Why be, an individual kind of place like it used to be? It used to be real pretty, real nice, real affordable. It used to be very inviting. It's just not anymore. It's everywhere else. There's nothing unique about it now at all.
Yeah, John Denver said I once would see fire in the sky in Colorado.
John Denver's so upset with Denver that now he's changing his name to
California.
John California. He's like, it's just everywhere.
Oh, no, John Texas.
Yeah.
Or John Florida. Everyone's moving
all right,
Florida.
Pueblo's Little Pittsburgh, Denver's Mile High San Francisco, and Colorado Springs is Tommy Rattle Springer.
Is John Denver alive?
The large episode of Jerry Springer. Is John Denver still alive?
We need to get him on the show.
Could you imagine that?
Imagine John Denver on Spiritual Insurgency.
Hey guys, what's going on? So I'm changing my name from Denver.
No, he
Roasted marshmallows in the studio.
died in 1997.
Oh, crap.
Dude.
Can't have him on the show. Never mind, guys.
Rest in peace.
There will be no John Denver edition. Never mind. Scratch
Is that a
that.
Mandela effect? Because I really thought he was still alive. I think it's because I saw Saving Silverman. Wasn't that there?
Yeah.
I love John Denver.
Like, I have his tickets to Red Rocks next month. Like, What are they gonna do? Are they gonna read?
Mandela effect, because I really thought John Denver was still alive and just really, really old. Holy crap!
You're not seeing
Well,
Red Rocks.
Where'd we go with that, right?
We go like this. Take you home to spiritual insurgency every day. God bless.
Want it better, be better.